Israeli commandos snatched an Iranian operative in Syria right under the noses of his Hezbollah bodyguards, while Iran claims to be planning a complex operation against Israel with what it says will be more powerful missiles than it fired in previous rounds. Some of them might be fired from Iraqi territory, as Iran is ignoring the protests of the internationally recognized government in Baghdad, just as it ignored the internationally recognized government in Lebanon. Speaking of Lebanon, Hezbollah is trying to broadcast business as usual despite the tremendous damage it has sustained, showing off its new underground rocket launching site. The IDF is not impressed as it continues to methodically demolish Hezbollah's terror infrastructure. Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, Hamas has carried out a terrorist attack against a humanitarian aid convoy, bringing food and medicine to civilians. The IDF informed the United Nations of the incident and will see if they do anything about it. Meanwhile, another terrorist who took part in the massacre of October 7, 2023 was eliminated. Let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 395th day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, and all the Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria who are controlled by Iran, the head of the axis of evil in the Middle East. Before we start, please take a second and press the subscribe button so that you'll never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. Also, every day people keep asking me how they can support Israel at this time. Well, I'm glad to tell you that Arza, the sponsor for today's video, gives you a great opportunity for doing so. More about them later on. After the naval commandos of the 13th Fleet captured a senior Hezbollah operative in Lebanon yesterday, it was announced publicly that another Iranian agent was recently captured in a similar operation in Syria a few months ago. Ali Suleiman El-Asi, a Syrian man who lived in the village of Saida, was captured by the Agoz unit of the IDF and taken back to Israel for interrogation. Officers from the Intelligence Directorate's Unit 504 accompanied the commandos to get a positive ID on El-Asi before he was taken into custody. The unit has a great deal of experience in these kinds of missions and were able to slip into the village, take custody of their target, and slip back out without anyone even noticing until they were long gone. This includes the armed Hezbollah operatives who are nearby and were supposed to be keeping the Iranian agent safe from exactly what happened to him. These bodyguards were also reinforced by soldiers from regular armed units that are loyal to President Bashar Assad, were distracted by diversionary tactics the Agoz unit created for them. This operation was the result of meticulous planning and preparation, which went on for several weeks. The target was observed through the various means, and his movements and habits were observed in order to make a decision on the best time and place to extract him. His associates and other members of his team were also observed, and we can assume that they are still being watched and providing intelligence to the IDF without even knowing it. Back to El-Asi, during his interrogation, he admitted to being recruited by an Iranian agent who told him that the area where he lived was strategically important for Iran because it would allow them to observe the IDF units in the area. He said that his Iranian handlers told him, "You should walk with us just to watch the borders." He told me that he was from military intelligence, but in practice Iran is behind them. From what I understood, he belongs to Iran. I mean, Iran doesn't work openly. There is a cover-up by the military intelligence, and this is according to him. We once told him that there was a tank yesterday at such and such time. A patrol passed by at such and such time. This is the information that this operative revealed to the IDF. The IDF spokesperson stated the operation to arrest El-Asi by the IDF forces prevented and disrupted a future attack and led to the exposure of the method of operation of Iranian entities on the front of the Golan Heights. The IDF will continue to work for border security and will not allow the establishment of the Iranian axis and the direction of hostile activity from southern Syria. Reports about this announcement quickly began to appear in Arab media portals, including the Lebanese El-Mayadeen network, which is affiliated with Hezbollah. Their report said that Israel arrested El-Aasi in Syria on July 18, and otherwise confirmed the details that were included in the IDF announcement. A local source in the southern region of Syria told the Syrian radio station Sham FM that the IDF has carried out many raids in the area over the years, especially against shepherds who approach the fence. Occasionally, some locals try to confront the IDF with force, and this leads to an exchange of fire, but most of the time, the IDF slips in and out, and no one even knows about it. Anyway, this is the second time in the last 48 hours that the IDF admits, unusually, that its forces arrested terrorist operatives in enemy territory in a special operation. As I said before, it follows the announcement that the naval commandos took speedboats up the coast of the town of Batron in northern Lebanon and grabbed Imad Amchaz, a senior Hezbollah logistical specialist and Navy officer who was studying to become a better terrorist. Those studies and his terrorist career are now over. All of this brings us to another rumor that circulated amongst the world news organizations in February of this year. One such news portal, the Syrian news site Nida El-Watan, reported around that time that Mata El-Sharan, a senior member of the Ba'ath Party, which has ruled Syria for decades, disappeared after living in home in the village of El Rafid in the Quneitra district of Syria. We never found out what happened to this man who was suspected of being sympathetic to the elements that opposed the ruling regime. There were many rumors at that time that he had been kidnapped by Israeli agents, or that maybe he cooperated with Israel, and so it wasn't really kidnapping, but rather a rescue operation. Another rumor said that Israel had been paying him for information for years, and this was his way of going into retirement after the Mossad fixed him up with a new identity and a comfortable exile in Europe. We'll probably never know what really happened to this man and the dozens of others like him who disappeared every month all over the Middle East. This is a very strange place sometimes, and it's even more strange for the agents of the axis of evil who devote their lives for the pointless task of trying to destroy the state of Israel. Leaving the mysterious world of secret agents behind, our next report comes from Lebanon, where the Israeli force carried out a strike in the last 24 hours that eliminated Abu Ali Racha, another one of Hezbollah's regional commanders who had authority over terrorist forces in the region of Rashid. He was also in charge of anti-aircraft fire patterns and the launchings of UAVs into northern Israel from his sector. He will not be doing that any longer, and Hezbollah is rapidly running out of competent terrorists to replace their lost field commanders. Staying in Lebanon for a moment, another report in the Hezbollah-affiliated Lebanese El-Mayadeen news portal over the last 24 hours quoted a Palestinian official who said that the negotiations for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip are going around in circles and are at a standstill. According to him, the partial offer no longer exists. Keep this in mind, as it will be revealed in the reports later in this broadcast about events in the Gaza Strip. Guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on developments moving forward. Please continue to help us spread the truth by sharing our videos on YouTube, subscribing to this YouTube channel, and following us on social media. We can also visit our website at tbnisrael.com. We bring you articles and updates on what is happening in Israel. Switching our focus to Iran, the deputy commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps in Iran, Ali Badavi made a statement on Sunday that the response to the Israeli attack will definitely be carried out, but its details cannot be discussed. It was mentioned in the Wall Street Journal on Sunday evening that Iran informed foreign diplomats that it had lost 4 soldiers and a civilian in the Israeli attack, and therefore it was necessary for Iran to make a strong show of force, including a complex response that includes even more powerful warheads and other weapons. Meanwhile, in Sky News Arabia, it was reported that the political advisor of the Prime Minister of Iraq, Fadi el-Shamari, said that Israel aims to increase the conflict in the region and that an Israeli attack against Iraq cannot be ruled out. He made a reservation and stated, "We do not want to give Israel justification to do this." El-Shamari also noted Iraq does not want its land to become another area of operations of any side. Earlier, the commander of the Revolutionary Guards, Hussein Salami, stated, "We warn the United States and Israel that the Islamic resistance will direct a severe response to the evil front. Iran and the resistance will be equipped with everything necessary to confront the enemy." He also clearly threatened that the upcoming attack would be the largest in terms of quantity and quality. At the same time, it was reported that additional weapons had been sent to Israel by the Pentagon as part of the significant strengthening of Israel by the United States and as part of the preparations for a possible Iranian attack. In response to this American aid, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei had more words of warning for the United States, saying they should know that they will undoubtedly receive a crushing response for what they are doing against Iran and against the resistance front. Amidst all of this rhetoric and bluster, a question arises about why Iraq has been chosen to be used by Iran to launch a strike against Israel. Aside from a slightly smaller amount of time needed for the ballistic missiles and drones to fly to Israel, there is very little obvious advantage that Iran gains from trying to launch weapons at Israel from Iraqi territory. But of course, that works both ways, since Israel can more easily launch its own preemptive strikes on the Iranian launch sites if they are carried from Iraqi territory. The main advantage Iran seems to think that they can gain from firing at Israel from Iraqi territory, possibly in coordination with the Houthis in Yemen, is that it gives Iran a thin excuse to say that it wasn't really from them, so Israel shouldn't retaliate against targets inside Iran itself. But that is very unlikely to work, and the United States officials have already warned Iran through intermediates that if Israel is hit again, they will respond without restraint. It must be also pointed out that the Iraqi Shiite militias, which Iran uses as its proxy force in that country, are not part of the internationally recognized Iraqi government, but they are trying to say that they should be recognized themselves as the legitimate rulers of Iraq. One way that they're trying to make their case is by saying that the Iraqi government failed to stop Israel from using Iraqi airspace to launch a strike on Iran, and so they're going to step up and launch an attack on Israel themselves in order to correct this mistake. This is a way of posturing before the masses of Iraq, trying to gain popular support from ordinary people. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on these developments. A moment before we get into what's happening in the Gaza Strip, I would like to tell you about our sponsor for today's video, Arza, an Israeli company that delivers locally produced products directly to your doorsteps. These Arza boxes are filled with flavors, scents, and craftsmanship made here in the Holy Land. Ordering these boxes is how you can support our effort, and it's a true blessing for Israel and for the people of Israel. So if you want to order your Arza box, go now to www.arzabox.com and receive fresh, original, handcrafted products. And not only that, you can now use our exclusive 10% discount on your Arza box subscriptions by entering the code TBNIL. Hey, the holiday season is just around the corner, and this can be a great gift for you and your loved ones. So thank you for your support. And now back to the news. In the Gaza Strip, another one of the terrorists who participated in the October 7th massacre was eliminated in the last 24 hours. This time, it was Ahmed El-Dalu of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad group who was taken out by an Israeli airstrike. Meanwhile, Hamas has resorted to carrying out terrorist attacks against Palestinian civilians. On Sunday evening, they detonated a bomb near a humanitarian convoy just a few hundred meters away from the Kamal Adwan hospital, causing damage to the hospital and injuring 6 children who were there. The explosion caused shrapnel to hit the courtyard and the roof of the hospital and the vehicles of the convoy parked nearby. No casualties from the convoy members were reported. The IDF and the Israel Defense Forces informed the United Nations of the incident, and we'll see if the United Nations does anything about it. In related news, the IDF is continuing the clearing operations in the northern Gaza Strip, which is the largest ground maneuver since the war began, covering more ground and involving more intense action than anything that came about until now. The main focus of operations is on 3 cities in the northern Gaza Strip: Jabalia, Bet Hanun, and Bet Lahia. There are about 300,000 Palestinian civilian residents in this area, and many of them have already begun to move further south to designated safe zones so that they will not be caught in the battles between the IDF and between Hamas terrorists. Hamas and the Islamic Jihad have mustered the last of their forces to make a stand in these cities, with the IDF estimating that they have as many as 5,000 armed terrorists fighting in this area, hiding amidst the civilian population. Although the IDF has found and captured enormous stocks of weapons and ammunition over the past 13 months of war, these terrorists still manage to find some and are using it to attack the IDF positions in hit-and-run raids. The IDF believes that there might also be some remaining Israeli hostages in this area, so they are taking their time going from house to house, searching for them, eliminating any terrorists that they encounter, and capturing whatever weapons, ammunitions, and intelligence that they can find. This is difficult, dangerous, and often frustrating work, but it must be done for this campaign to be brought to successful conclusion. More IDF forces are becoming available for this campaign as the battle to destroy Hezbollah's terror infrastructure in southern Lebanon has progressed much quicker than anyone anticipated. The Kfir Brigade will soon join the Givati Brigade and the 401st Brigade operating in the northern Gaza Strip with the goal of overwhelming the remaining Hamas forces in the Jabalia refugee camp. In order to implement the plans, the IDF makes extensive use of drones to locate Palestinian terrorists and to avoid as much as possible the harm to IDF soldiers and uninvolved Palestinian civilians due to the heavy fighting. I need to explain to you that the current operation in the northern Gaza Strip began on October 5th. Hamas fears that its purpose is to implement a plan devised by Reserve Major Yair Island, which aims to eliminate the entire military presence of Hamas in the northern Gaza Strip and empty the area of civilians, moving them south to transform the northern Gaza Strip to a closed military area. This is the 3rd time that the IDF has had to go in to operate in the Jabalia area since the outbreak of this war, and this time it is determined to decide the battle and dismantle the military arm of Hamas once and for all. Such action will allow Israel to eliminate any armed terrorists who remain in this area and effectively take over the distribution of humanitarian aid in Gaza. Hey guys, so here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on developments in the Gaza Strip moving forward. So please continue to spread the truth by sharing our videos on YouTube, subscribing to this YouTube channel, and following us on social media. You can also donate so we can create more videos like this one by going to our website at www.tbnisrael.com/give or click the donate button on YouTube. To conclude today's report, after the Knesset last week approved a law according to which UNRWA's activities in Israel will be stopped on Sunday, Foreign Minister Israel Katz ordered the cancellation of the 1967 agreement between Israel and UNRWA. This agreement formed the legal basis of the relationship between the parties, and now it is cancelled. Katz ordered the Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Yaakov Blitzstein, to notify the United Nations of the cancellation of the contract with the agency in accordance with the provisions of Section 1B of the law to terminate UNRWA activities, which was approved as mentioned in the Knesset. UNRWA, the organization whose employees participated in October 7, the massacre, and many of these employees are Hamas operatives, is part of the problem in the Gaza Strip and not part of the solution. This is according to Israel's Minister Katz. UNRWA facilities were used by terrorists for terrorist purposes and nothing was done about it. Furthermore, even the recommendations of the United Nations themselves, which were written in the Colonna report, were not implemented by UNRWA. He added, "Don't believe those who tell you that there is no substitute for UNRWA. Even now, the vast majority of humanitarian aid is delivered through other organizations, and only 13% of it is delivered through UNRWA. The State of Israel is bound by international law and will continue to allow the introduction of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip in a manner that does not harm the security of the citizens of Israel." So guys, please pray for Israel. Please pray for the IDF soldiers wherever they are fighting, in the air, at the sea, or on the land, if it's in Lebanon, in the Gaza Strip, or anywhere else in this conflict. Pray for the return of the hostages from Gaza to Israel. And guys, let's pray for the peace of Israel, and most importantly, unite in prayer for the peace of Jerusalem. And together, we will win this war because God is on our side.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.